y'all, it's Sharla from the Hartsville Homestead, here with you on the Creative Retreat Kids YouTube channel with my Vintage Junk Journal Reflections project using this month's kit for the good. Now, I've prepped my page a little bit with some paint. It's kind of a coordinating color that I just had in my stash. So while that's drying, I wanted to show you what I did with those neat little word reference cards from the study. These were in the Faithfilled digitals. If you saw those, they're larger than they were in the digitals because I wanted to pull those out and I wanted to use them for some notes. I just did this while I was waiting for paint to dry and I wanted to share it with you. I've mentioned before my little word study box that I keep here on my work table. I keep this as a template, 4x5 cards. And I have several other little, word study projects, things like that that I've done, some that I just bought and added in here. But I wanted to add these in as a good reference also. And so all I did was pull the two small cards, put them over, because I use Photoshop, so I pulled it over and just enlarged it so that it would fit roughly the 4x5. I put two of them like on a half sheet of paper and cut them down. They fit roughly, but they'll fit right in here in the box well. Rounded the corners. They were rounded already in the design. And so this way I have notes on the front and I can have room to put notes and pull from the devotional on the back. So that's what I want to do as soon as I finish up my project here. Just going to show you what I was going to add into my word study box to go with this. I love all of the word notes that Julie added in for us this month, and I wanted to pull those out so that I could keep them handy here on my desk. So now let's see, this should be good. Gonna work on building a little bit of a background, just simply to put our focus verse over here. And I'm gonna take inspiration from another journaling card that came from the Faithfilled digitals with these puzzle pieces kind of flowing across. I have it in my head. Let's see how it turns out. Alrighty, now my technique is not terribly difficult and my page is really a more simplistic one today. Not a lot of layering and vintage pieces, just a simple kind of tie-in to what I did in my Bible entry earlier this month in Romans 8. So for my background here, like I mentioned, I just used a minty blue. It was a chalk paint that I had in my stash. I covered the entire text, but then while it was still wet, I took a little wipey and swiped some off here and there just to show through some of the text, some of this, the writing in the background, but not really where you can read it. So that way I was getting a layered background look without really having any extra pieces. This book, like I've said before, is getting a little chunky and the structure is a little compromised. So I'm trying to be careful in every other one that I do so I don't layer a lot of pieces in there. But anyway, it does create an interesting background. And then I've pulled 3 of my Creative Retreat Pigment inks. I'm using Mermaid, Teal, Pomegranate, and Bluebird. And I'm just going across diagonally like the little journaling card inspiration image. And I'm alternating where I put the colors. A little bit of teal, a little bit of pink, a little bit of blue. And letting it kind of spill across the page. I love to use stencils in the background, and I love this kit stencil. It is so versatile. We're going to be able to use it for this kit and anything that we want to do, but then put it in our stash and pull it out over and over. So many possibilities with stencils. You can use paints, inks, pen outlines, just so many techniques that you can pull together. And you can use the stencil over and over. I just took it to the sink, put a little soap on it, and washed it off. It's as good as new. Y'all tell me in the comments your favorite ways to use stencils, because I'm always looking for other inspiration and new techniques to add to my skill set. So share with me down below. But I love this puzzle piece, these puzzle pieces spilling across the page, leading your eye to the focus verse that I'm going to pull. Now again, this is one of the journaling cards that you'll see me pull, but I enlarged it and then kind of cut it to shape and made it a centerpiece. I did use, or you'll see me in a little bit, use some of the vintage photo distress ink and just a little bit of a makeup brush just to give it a kind of knock down some of the brightness so that it does in color go along with my vintage book. I do the edge of my card and then also the edges of the paper. But I have thoroughly enjoyed this devotional this month from Julie. It is really a good study. She led us through the wild and winding account of Joseph's life, as she put it, and added some great insight. But her closing remarks really held me. I read them, and then I went back and read that last paragraph a little slower. She says, it all comes down to trust. And isn't that the truth? She goes on, Joseph was able to endure the hard puzzle pieces of his life by trusting in God's goodness and sovereignty. Knowing how it all fits together was not as important as knowing who was fitting it all together. We too can trust that God is perfecting in us a greater purpose, not just for us, but for everyone, for all. So what a wonderful reminder this is of God's promises. We may not see the big picture, but God does, and He created it. As each and every piece goes into place, our faith and trust grows in Him. Now here you see what I mentioned before, just adding a little bit of brown ink to age or distress the colors of these printables and the paint, just a little bit so it better fits into this overall project. After putting my focal piece into place, I go to work on the reflection question answers. I've made a copy of the devotional just on some craft color copy paper. I've done this with each month's entry just on different colors of papers, just so I can slip it into my book in a little pocket. And I am using the kit sticker as a tab so that I can slide it in and out of these little hidden pockets that I've made between the book pages. It helped me to span some space too as I went through the book. And so I would just, secure two sides of the page together and tuck any little extras that I wanted to from the kits in between the pages in the pockets. So that you don't see it, doesn't create a lot of bulk, but it helps when I've torn out pages in between to use some of that space. If you are joining us in this month's study, I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. If you haven't ordered a kit yet, I'll link the Creative Retreat Kit website below. You can choose from either the physical or digital version and join us in this month's study. I added a few of my favorite wonky little heart stickers to the page, and I'm really happy with how sweet and simple this turned out. Just enjoy some creative worship time today. I'll leave some notes below of products and things like that I used. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to this channel if you don't already do so. I hope y'all have a blessed day.